All right, live. Here we go. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hopefully, I'm catching you before you get to your football games. Who's playing today? The Raiders and the Colts or somebody? I heard them say it on the UFC broadcast last night. But hello. This is December 13th, the Sunday submission after UFC 256. There's quite a few things I want to go over. If you don't follow me, my name is Ed Carbajal. You can follow me on Twitter at Carbazel. And I write the 7 takeaways pieces for MMAnews.com after every UFC pay-per-view event. Just some things that stood out from the event, from fight week leading up to it. So I do one of these every Sunday, but that's usually the bigger one that I do for MMAnews.com. If you like what we're doing here, please make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the bell notification for future videos. We have fighter interviews as well as videos like this there. Our latest features Brendan Fitzgerald and Alex Moreno interviews, what they did with Canada's favorite MMA reporter, James Lynch. So if you haven't liked and subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that so that you can check those out. That takes care of that news for the day. So UFC 256. We had a few events, obviously, from the fight week leading up to Saturday. Thursday night was Bellator 254. I'm rocking my Bellator hoodie, so I would be remiss if I didn't mention that quickly. If you hadn't checked that out on CBS Sports, Ilima-Lei Macfarlane is no longer the champ there. She lost her title. Undefeated fighter. They were both undefeated, so I kind of on my own podcast, I had to do. I'm sorry, did I say Bellator? I got to make sure I get my numbers right. Bellator 254 Thursday night. And Ilima-Lei Macfarlane lost to Velasquez decision, which kind of was it made me think about, and I think Scott Coker might have alluded to it too during the post-fight interview, that how the I'm trying to bring up the full card here to see if I didn't forget anything. Juliana Velasquez is now the champ, but one of the things that stood out to me was a unanimous decision win over Ilima-Lei, who's been the champion since they made the division a thing. She's headlined a lot of cards in Hawaii. This was actually supposed to be in Hawaii, if I'm remembering the spring summer social that we actually covered at MMAnews.com. You can check on the YouTube channel for all the interviews for that. Myself and Fernando Quillis got, with everyone that's been fighting lately. So I think they kind of got through everything they wanted to get through for 2020. That was their last event of the year. UFC 256 was the last pay-per-view for the UFC. They have one more this Saturday, December 19th, with Wonderboy Thompson. It's a ESPN Plus card against Neil. But that's in the future. We want to look back at the week that just finished. So, that was probably the most standout thing that happened at Bellator 254. There was other. Linton Vassell made his return. He got a victory over a tough Ronnie Marks. So, Ronnie Marks has fought all over the place. He's fought World Series of Fighting and PFL, or under when they switched to PFL. But that was their final event. I think where there's a lot of big things coming. One thing before I move on to UFC 256, and I'm a little bit standing on my soapbox here, is that let me make sure I get any comments. Excuse me. About Bellator 254. Before I get on I'm going to get on a bit of a soapbox here. Was that talking about James Lynch in Canada? So DAZN just didn't broadcast the event, and it's kind of I feel like big things could have happened with the sport of mixed martial arts and DAZN, and this is my soapbox, so I'll stay on it for about 3 minutes. DAZN, they jumped into this deal with Bellator, and if you probably didn't know if you had a DAZN subscription, I mean, you damn sure didn't know by any of their social stuff, but Bellator, KSW, I think Combate Medicals was on there for a little while. I'm trying to think of the other MMA promotions that were featured on DAZN, and I know that DAZN's supposed to be in all sports. I mean, they're trying to be like the streaming version, or they're trying to be like what ESPN Plus is to us here in the US. I know they're based out of the UK, so like they have soccer and other things, that sports that folks don't follow as heavily as like football and stuff here. But they just never, from what I saw, seemed as interested in investing in covering MMA as much as like the way ESPN Plus had. They made an ESPN MMA Twitter handle. They have a YouTube channel. I just didn't see that from DAZN the whole time. I mean, they're still technically, Scott Coker was asked about this at the post-fight press conference, and they still technically, they're in business, but with the new CBS deal and the stuff that they could do with Espinosa and Showtime, it's like they have to wait it out because of the contracts that are in place or whatever. I went to that press event about the whole thing with when they started this partnership, and I remember asking James Rushton. The video is actually up on I did that for Front Proof Media, I believe, so it's either on their YouTube channel or mine. But I asked, are you planning on expanding more into outside of just boxing and doing more MMA? I mean, Bellator was obviously the biggest got that they had with the other promotions, and I asked about if they do submission grappling, because I thought maybe Chael's connection with Bellator and the whole thing, that he could have brought Submission Underground there. Submission Underground's on Fight Pass, by the way, which is really good if you're into the grappling scene or want to see some really good entertaining grappling. Check out Submission Underground on UFC Fight Pass. But I thought that would have gone to DAZN. I mean, I kind of got into all of that with him. And one of the things he said that, we're going to see, this was like 2016, 2017. And, one of the things he said that the company does is social listening to see what fans want. But I don't think you can listen to anything if you're not, listening is part of communication. It's a two-way street. And if you're not putting anything out there that let folks know that you're trying to dip your toes in those waters, you're not going to grab the interest of anything or anybody. I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, I did major in communications, but I'm not an expert or anything like that. But that's just my opinion. I never saw from DAZN any real output as far as like outside of some of the stuff they did with Robin Black. But what they do for boxing, you see so much push on boxing and stuff like that. And again, I'm not hating on boxing or anything, because I just talked about Tyson Jones and other I've written about a lot of boxing on MMAnews.com in the past. So I'm Mexican, so of course I like boxing. Excuse me. But I just never saw them market Bellator events or any other MMA as heavily as they do boxing. So I don't know. I mean, that's just my opinion. But again, I didn't want to spend too much time. It's about 3 minutes I spent on it. So we'll move past it and move into UFC 256. So I got the 7 takeaways. Oh, Jesus. Did I not bring it up? Hold on. I got it right here in a rough draft, so I don't. Full results of UFC 256, by the way, are up at MMAnews.com. So if you haven't checked them out and you want to know how the entire card went, it was only 10 bouts. But I want to say, because the weekend before we had a short card too, I'm wondering, I don't know, if you guys think, maybe you want to drop a comment in the YouTube video, or if you're watching this stream, are the shorter cards, just because they're short, they just seem more exciting, or more, we're getting better fights out of them? I mean, again, it could just be the last two that I'm thinking of because they're recent. But I mean, we'd have to look at older events overall to see if that really is the case. Excuse me. Gassy. That's that General Tso's chicken that I had last night. So I just want to count the finishes we had. Give me 1 second. Again, this is over at MMAnews.com. That heel hook from the beginning, that Chase Hooper. Oh my God, how did I forget that? I didn't even put that in my 7 takeaways. Sorry, Chase. I should have put that in there. That first fight of the event where Chase Hooper was losing every round, starts to figure out that he could do an Imanari roll and roll into a submission against Peter Barrett, who was tagging him up. And he gets a heel hook in the final round at 3 minutes and 2 seconds of the final round. Crazy. So yeah, that was a finish. TKO and the Tessiatoria Sam Hughes fight. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 out of 10 bouts were finishes. Some were mostly TKOs. That was the one submission of the night. The first fight of the night was the one submission of the night. Crazy. And then the other ones that went to decision. But I mean, I guess we should go right into the main event, right? Just go right into the main event of this one because I can't stop thinking about it. So being on the East Coast, just so you know, being on the East Coast, watching UFC pay-per-views can be taxing because like my West Coast podcast partner, the night is young. I've been on the West Coast for a UFC, for MMA events that ended early, and now I understand after parties and all that because it's still a decent hour when they're over, 3 hours behind us. But for me, it's like almost 2 a.m. when these events are done here on the East Coast, here in dirty Jersey. So I'm bringing that up because the main event, this flyweight title fight that had Davis and Figueiredo, I guess we can say defend because it was a majority draw. He retains his title because it was a majority draw. But I want to say by round 3, I was standing up in my living room watching this fight, and I may as well had a shot of coffee. I didn't wind down until after when Charles Oliveira came to the post-fight press conference to speak. That's when I started coming down off of that, the high off of this fight, man. So usually when you get that type of back and forth high action, what was crazy about it, because at the beginning of the fight, I'm like, oh, hearing the shots that Figueiredo landed on Moreno, I was just like, wow, that's too much power for Moreno. And he was wearing the damage. We saw he got bloodied fairly early in the fight. But it was literally like as soon as Figueiredo did something that, seemed impactful, Moreno was literally right there in his face to throw something back. And that happened throughout a lot of the fight. I think somebody put up punch stat numbers. Round 4 was Moreno's strongest round. And, the fight was so entertaining. It even had the drama of an eye poke and a really, really bad groin shot that, Moreno was down on all fours and dry heaving, which I felt in my own gut because I've been kicked in the jewels before. And I know that's how you know, like, if you've never been kicked in the groin very hard before, it's super painful. It's not just like the cartoons where you smash your legs together and fall over, and holding yourself for a while. It does make you keel over, but the pain shoots up into your center, almost into your guts, because you're literally it's not just the twig and berries that are getting moved and pushed up in you. it's all of that, all kinds of just discomfort that'll, with the force of the blow gets moved up to your chi. So it certainly disrupts your chi. Anyway, but that happened. Moreno, Dana White has commented in the past how he's been trying to get in the Latin American market and how like he's trying to get the Mexican, fighter. It's always been a Mexican American guy that's been kind of hard to keep as that guy for Mexican fight fans, especially in mixed martial arts. For the Latinos, Combate Americas kind of has that market, but the UFC still wants that guy. And they're Julio Cesar Chavez. You know what I mean? It's funny because as Moreno was walking into the ring, Cormier was alluding to this, and he said he read off the list of all the great Mexican boxers, the Chavez, Salvador Sanchez, a bunch of others. And the point is, Moreno is absolutely that guy for MMA. We haven't really seen him. Maybe in the past, I mean, would you have Miguel Torres? I think he was Mexican, right? I mean, so of course they were a lighter weight fighter. But it's funny. I mentioned Miguel Torres because I interviewed Brandon Royval, who fought Moreno last month at UFC 255 for the podcast I do, Coast to Coast Combat Hour. And he said that Torres was one of his favorite fighters. So that weird, it's not weird, but it's like this all heart, the fighting spirit that Mexican fighters are known for was absolutely present in Moreno last night. And everyone, I don't know how folks feel about this, especially with Yair Rodriguez. He's on suspension. He fights like every other year. I know he does some spectacular shit when he fights in the cage, but I tweeted out after that fight, I'm like, if they want to invest in that market, and I know they want to build a UFC PI in Mexico and have a face for Mexican fight fans that connects Mexican fight fans to the UFC the way Canelo does it for boxing and Chavez did for boxing and stuff like that. Moreno's that guy. You got to invest. Excuse me. You got to invest in Brandon Moreno. Fighting to a majority draw. 48-46. This is for Figuero. Moreno. 48-46, 47-47, and 47-47. I mean, by round 3, there was no. I mean, by round 3 of that fight, there was no way you could really pick a fight. And then round 4 kind of had me leaning Moreno, but then round 5, Joe Rogan even asked Moreno afterward, and I wrote about it in the 7 takeaways piece. I mean, I'm literally going into like takeaway number 5 because it's the main event. I'm jumping all over. It's not in order. Right? This is what is this? Takeaway number 4 or something like that. It's under the Gods of War, but I mean, I'm elaborating on what I wrote anyway. He blocked a kick. There was Figueiredo's is like I don't know if it's capoeira or I mean they said he's like shoot. No, I'm thinking of Oliveira shoot box, but he's got like a karate-esque style. So all his stuff is thrown real hard, bad intentions. If you want to see stuff like that, check out Karate Combat. They stream on YouTube every Sunday. But that's how Figueiredo's striking is. It's just like all aggression, and there's no. He did a few feints as he got tired. But I remember I said last one too. For Figueiredo, if he makes weight for this one, I'm not going to question his drive or whatever. But because of the whole flyweight thing with Benavidez, it's weird because that's how that started and how this is ending. He's proven to be a great champion. He can make weight. I don't want to say no problem because he had a stomach issue. But here's the thing with that. So Figueiredo had a stomach issue the night before. He was in the hospital the night before, still makes weight, fights 5 rounds, and wins on one of the judges' scorecards, and then goes back to the hospital again. He was noticeably fatigued. He was really wearing it. There's some pictures right now up on social media of him being wheeled in. I hope he's all right. He had a stomach infection, so he was in the hospital the night before, but was medically cleared. Of course, Dana White addressed it in a post-fight press conference where he asked, "Can you, do this? And can you do this tonight?" And of course, Figueiredo was just like, "Yeah, So he did it. I'm not going to question his balls or anything anymore. The dude's game. He's the champ, and we absolutely have to see this again. I could talk forever about this fight. I'm already going on longer than I wanted to, but it's at the beginning of round 5. Moreno blocked a kick from him when I was talking about the hard karate striking, and I actually thought the same thing Rogan said. Because he kept doing this, he kept grabbing his wrists, Figueiredo, and I was like, okay, something's wrong there, and I'm thinking it's broken, and then there's a noticeable welt that pops up here on his left forearm, and I'm like, okay, yeah, definitely broken. He's not throwing it. Then he starts throwing it. And I'm thinking I'm having flashbacks to kickboxing fights with Benedict Gutierrez, who fought with a broken hand and threw it hard as hell every time. Like you just don't see that anymore. And to see it in a young guy like Moreno, and they have to run this back. And I'm, you have Weili Zhang versus Joanna, former champion. I always screw up her last name, so I'm not going to try. That's fight of the year candidate, and this one is right there for me. I'd have to flip a coin for my own personal choice. Like I would literally want to rewatch them all 10 rounds back to back to make a decision. But yeah, so that was definitely, if you didn't watch it, you got to watch it. I mean, that's for a final pay-per-view of the year. Super, super exciting. Definitely definitely a rewatch for 100 reasons. Charles Oliveira defeated Tony Ferguson with a dominant victory. He could have finished. I mean, I thought Ferguson was going to tap when he slapped on that armbar. The pictures are all over the internet. He hyperextends the arm. Ferguson goes back to his corner and says, "I'm just getting warmed up." The dude is somewhere else when it comes to being a martial artist and a fighter. I know he lost. We've never seen him dominated like that, but as far as his focus, the fact that he did all 3 rounds and tried stuff still, like he went for submissions. He cut Oliveira above the eye, of course, because it's Tony Ferguson with his elbows. He's going to cut somebody. 37 years old. I wouldn't say it's a downslide for him. I think he had a rough year. You talk about how this MMA year was for the UFC, especially. I mean, that the fight he was booked in was rescheduled twice. He made weight twice. I mean, he said it was the longest camp, but he's probably still feeling the effects of training and getting ready for a fight of the magnitude he had with Justin Gaethje for as long as he did. You know what I mean? I would imagine, even though he had some time off to rest, I would imagine, that took its toll. So I'm not writing off Tony Ferguson. I don't think we should. It's 2 losses in a row. Maybe if he picks up another one against someone else. I know there was talk of him and Michael Chandler. So my immediate thought right after that, I was just like, I wonder how that fight would have gone if it was him and Chandler. But Oliveira, Oliveira's a guy now at 155. It's going to be interesting to see what they do going into 2021 with that division, as 155 kind of seemed like a heavy focus with all the rescheduling and Khabib and, everything going on, them getting Chandler over there, and definitely an interesting time. So I'm going a little longer on another takeaway. Worse for wear is kind of talking about the damage from, because Moreno talked about, he said it wasn't broken. We're going to find out when the medical suspensions come out whether or not his arm was broken or not. But he said it was actually something in his shoulder that was bothering that kept him from throwing it early in round 5, and why he didn't throw so much. But the Cub Swanson keeps getting matched up they're trying to get him out of the UFC. They keep putting him against some young upstart, and to make it seem like, okay, Cub, you're not, you've been here for a while, and then he always does really well. And last night, man, they call him Killer Cub. He's a super nice guy, but what is that? A second round knockout, right? Let me check the results. Second round knockout over Daniel Pineda. Man, did he you could see the ring rust in the beginning of that fight. He absorbed some shots. He seemed like he had to get his groove a little bit, but like halfway through the first round, it was coming back to him. And then the way he just kept catching and returning fire for all the punches, I was super impressed. Cub Swanson, I mean, they made him like the featured fight of the prelims on ESPN. So hey, better for him, right? You don't have to worry about all the streaming troubles and all the stuff people complain about with ESPN Plus. He got eyeballs on him, and he's there, and he's going to be there. I mean, it's Pineda seemed physically bigger and stronger than him too, but I mean, that goes to show you if you got skills. I mean, and you're a skilled martial artist like Cub is, that really didn't matter for him. And Pineda went for a leg lock too, which I mean, I know he had a leg issue. I mean, I'm dealing with a leg issue right now myself, so I would have been, some guys will tap just to protect the newly recovered injured limb. But I mean, that goes to show you the levels. There's hobbyists and there's people that are just in it fighting for money, whatever. But Cubs, obviously, he's there, and he's still a featherweight to be worried about. The other big knockout was Rafael Fiziev's over first round knockout over Renato Moicano. Oof, that was rough. That was rough to watch. But because I kind of like Moicano as a fighter, so seeing him picking up another loss like that was but the delivery was great. It was like body shot, right hand, left hook, perfect combination. Especially something that opens up with a body shot. You can't. If you're a fan of martial arts and combat sports, that really was a thing of beauty, the technique in that and the way it fired off and everything. Footwork, where his left foot was planted, pivoting in on the strike too. Beautiful. And then the one, which one should I? I guess we should get it because it happens in the first round. Middleweight, Kevin Holland, big mouth. I remember feeling the same way Dana White did about him when he did his Contender Series thing. Like, it's just the talking was annoying, but you have to wonder if it puts him at such a sense of calm that's what makes him so good. He gets in his own flow state because he talks himself into it and talks to his opponent. And when Jacare took him down, I was like, okay, this guy's hype train is about to get done. And he did not only did he defend and well off his back, and I didn't know he was a black belt under Travis Lutter, but he's a black belt under Travis Lutter, he said, right? I'd have to look into it again or look back at his post-fight interview. But then he gets the knock. With Jacare in his guard, knocks him out. I mean, he's in his guard, but he pushes away, scrambles up to his feet, and catches him with a right hand that dazes Jacare, then hits him again, puts him out while he's still on his knees. And this is all in a matter of seconds from getting out of the guard and springing back up to his feet. He calls out Khamzat Chimaev, who has fought at 185 and 170. He's filled in for fighters at 185, but it seems like his focus is on 170. And Holland talks so much, he flip-flopped last night between. So he said he'll come back to fight in Vegas next weekend because, Khamzat Chimaev, you talk about fighter of the year. Kevin Ioli tweeted this morning asking, is Kevin Holland fighter of the year? And it's almost like you don't know, because you want to say Khamzat might be fighter of the year because of the quick turnaround and stuff he did. So, I mean, if that happens, I think next weekend's already. It's more loaded than it needs to be, but the way the last several cards have fell apart because of COVID and injuries and stuff and the pink eye, I think if they get on that card and they fight it out, the guy that wins should be fighter of the year. I mean, that's just my thought, but between Khamzat and Holland, but I mean, he's definitely worthy of a contender or candidacy for that bragging rights. And then the opening bout of the card, Cyril Gane versus Junior Dos Santos. What are you gonna do? Even Gane he got the TKO in the second round. The elbow on the replay, it looks like it landed right here, right behind the where my headphone is, or kind of on the ear. They have Trevor Whitman doing like the Harold Lederman thing on UFC events now, and he said it was legal. The replays made it seem kind of legal. If I remember, I think it's like it's anything here. Like you can't do straight to the crown, right? And because the 12-6 is illegal, and obviously the back of the head is illegal. So I think the I mean it's officially recorded as a clean shot. So I think we can leave it where it is as far as the legality of the blow that one got the fight and handed Dos Santos another loss. But it is what it is. I mean, I think I've said it almost on every Sunday submission. The guard in this sport keeps changing and passing down to the younger guys, and it is a young man's sport. So when you start questioning if the fighter themselves, especially, I don't think we're getting that from Dos Santos or Ferguson or any of these guys that Jacare that picked up L's last night, losses. But it's definitely a young man's sport. And this thing with the UFC fighters getting between 60 and 80 fighters getting cut, I think we're going to see these more senior men get cut and Dana White was pretty adamant about it when he did. MMA Junkie asked him on Friday after weigh-ins, or was it MMA Junkie? No, it was Aaron, TSN's Aaron Baronster. I'm sorry if I messed up your name, but he was talking with Dana White about it on Thursday or Friday. And Dana White was like, we kind of always have been in the business and building young fighters and getting the best younger guys in the world. So, we can't hold on, to fighters that seem to be on their decline forever. And, you'll never get a fighter to admit that they're on the decline, especially, I mean, that is the competitive nature of MMA. So as soon as they admit that, then they know themselves that they have to retire. And it is what it is, right? But I mean, I'm not a very business minded person, but you have to wonder if those cuts that were coming had to do with some type of inkling. Maybe they saw some signal fires of the lawsuit that Forbes wrote about, with the class action suit against the UFC moving forward. It's the payout is between 800 million and 1.6 billion. This is off of a Forbes article that I think I shared on. But you can check out Forbes. You can check out combatsportslaw.com. There's a lot of stuff out there about it. But you have to wonder if all these cuts are kind of like backpedaling, or this is how they're saving face with the money side of things in the UFC. But it is what it is. I guess that's it. I mean, we got one more UFC event. I think 2021 is going to be a very interesting year for MMA as a whole, especially the UFC, because of the news I just mentioned, the lawsuit, the fighter cuts. Again, I don't think folks like myself would have a lot to do or talk about if MMA didn't move forward. I know the year was weird, to say the least, with the COVID pandemic, but we got one more coming, hopefully with the vaccine on the way and stuff like that. I hope you folks that have been watching along with this, and I hope you guys didn't lose anyone or anything like that. And I know it's been a rough year for everyone, but these events have been a nice little escape if you're a fan of the sport. And obviously it saw some growth this year. I hope it gets more growth next year. And again, I mean, a couple more Sundays left in the year. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you read my 7 takeaways in detail over at MMAnews.com, and you like and subscribe.